In this video, we are going to learn about JavaScript arrays. And arrays are one of the most useful and versatile data structures in JavaScript. But before we dive into arrays, let's imagine a scenario. Suppose you want to store the names of your 5 best friends in your program. How will you do that? Well, one way is to use 5 different variables like this. This works, but it has some drawbacks. First, it is tedious and repetitive to write and read. Second, it is not scalable. What if you want to store the names 10, 20, or 100 friends? You will need to write a lot of variables, and that would make your code messy and hard to maintain. Third, it is not flexible. What if you want to perform some operations on your friend's name, such as sorting them alphabetically, adding or removing some names, or finding the name with the longest length? You will need to write a lot of code for each operation. That would make your code complex and error prone. So is there a better way to store multiple values in single variable? Yes, there is. And that's where arrays comes in. Arrays are like containers that can hold multiple values of the same or different types. Arrays make it easy to store, access, modify, and manipulate data in our program. Arrays are like the Swiss Army knife of data structure. You can use them for many purposes such as sorting lists, tables, matrix, queues, stacks, and more. And in this video, we will learn how to create, access, and modify arrays in JavaScript. And first of all, I am going to show you how we can store all these friends' name in a single variable using arrays. Now, let friend list is equal to, now to create an array, we need to use square brackets, and in here we can write these names separated by comma. Like here, first name is John, then we have Emily, and third one is Michael, and the last one is Sarah. And this is how we can use one variable, and then by using our array, we can store all these names in this one single array. And now let's talk about arrays in more detail. And an array is an ordered collection of values separated by these commas and enclosed in these square brackets. Now each value in an array is called an element, and each element has a numeric index that indicates its position in the array. Now the index starts from position 0. So this first element is at position 0, the second one is at position 1, and so on. Now the values that we can use in an array can be any valid JavaScript expression such as literals, variables, or functions. The array can have any number of elements from 0 to the maximum allowed by the JavaScript engine. Now after this, we have two methods of creating an array. The first and the simple one is by using these square brackets, and inside of these we can place our array items. And this method of creating an array is called array literal. Now the second way of creating an array is by using new keyword with array constructor. And now I am going to show you how we can create an array using array constructor. Now let friend list 2, and we are going to create this same array using our array constructor. So friend list 2 is equal to new, then this array constructor. Now after calling this, in between these parentheses, we have to specify our items. Like in our case, we have John, then Emily, Michael, and Sarah. And these are the two ways through which we can create an array. Now I just want to show you by logging both of these variables into console. Now if we log this friend list you can see we have an array with the length of 4, and we can see each array item has an index value. Like here, the first one is at index 0, this second one is at index 1, and this one is at index 2, and the last one is at index 3. Then we can also check the length, which is written here, length is equal to 4. And all this information we can get by logging this variable into console. Now similarly, if we log this second array, which is friend list 2, you can see both of these arrays are similar. Now these are the two methods through which we can create array in JavaScript. However, this array literal notation is preferred over this new keyword because it is shorter and less ambitious. The new keyword can cause some confusion when you pass only one argument to this array constructor. For example, this is how we can write an array of one element using array literal notation. We can write like const number is equal to 10. This is equivalent to creating an array using a new keyword and passing the element as the argument to the array constructor like this. Const number 2 is equal to new array. Then in here I am just choosing one argument, which is 10. However, if we pass a single numeric argument to this array constructor, it will create an empty array with the specified length, not an array with one element. And we can see this by logging these values in our console. If I log this number, you can see we have an array with this numeric value of 10. Now if I log this number 2, you can see we don't have an array with the value of 10. Instead, by doing this, we are getting an empty array with the length of 10. Here you can see its length is 10, but this array is empty. But we wanted to create an array with value of 10 just like we did here. And that is why this can cause some unexpected result and errors in our code. Therefore, it is recommended to use this array literal notation to create arrays in JavaScript. And now we are going to talk about how we can access these elements that we store in our array. Now to access these elements, we can use the square bracket notation just like we did with JavaScript strings. First of all, we need to use the name of the array, which is friend list, and then square brackets. In here, we are going to use the index of that element that we want to access. In our case, let's say we want to access this second item, which is Emily. So we need to write its index, which is 1. If I hit save, nothing happens because we need to use console.log to log this value in our console. Now I am just pasting it here. Now after saving, we have our value, which is Emily. Similarly, if we want to access the third one, we just have to change the index to 2 like this, and now we have Emily and Michael. Now to access this last element, we can do this in two ways. First, by simply writing its index, which is 3. Now we have Sarah in our console as well. But let's say we have a huge array with hundreds of items in it, and we don't know the index of the last element. Now how we can access the last element from that array? And now I am going to show you how we can do that. Now just like strings, we can also get the length of our array using our length property. Like if I log the length of this friend list, then dot, then this length property, you can see we are getting the length of our array in our console, which is 4. Now JavaScript calculate the length counting from 1, not from 0. That is why it is 4. So it means The last item is this fourth item. Now to get the index of the last item, we need to subtract 1 from this length. By doing this, we can easily get the index of last item. I can also show you by logging this friend list in our console, and if I expand this, you can see the index of last item is 3 because JavaScript start counting index from 0 but it count length starting from 1. Now by doing this, you can see we have the index of this last item. Now we can do something like this. Now in these square brackets, we can write any expression. We can write this same thing by cutting from here and pasting it in here. And you can see we have our last item in our console, which is Sarah. So by using our length property, we can easily check the number of elements in our array. So this is how we can access our array elements. And now I am going to show you how we can change an element of an array or how we can add new element into an existing array. I am just commenting these lines. Now here let's say if we want to add another friend instead of John at our first position. So basically we are just changing this first element and we are using another element. Now in order to do this, we just have to know the index number of that element. In our case, this is the first element, so the index of this first element is 0. First we have to write the name of an array which is friend list, then these square brackets, and in here we just need to write the position which in our case is 0, and after this assignment operator we just have to write the name of our new friend like Daniel. Now if I hit save and if I log the friend list after changing this, and here you can see in our console the first log is coming from this line of code before changing our friend name to Daniel. This is John. Now after changing this to Daniel, we have Daniel instead of John. So we successfully changed our first friend with our new friend. And similarly, if we want to change this second one, we just need to use its index instead of 0. Now I am using 1. If I hit save, now the first one is again John and the second one is now Daniel. And this is how we can change an element of an array. Now if you want to add another friend at the end, like let's say if you have a new friend and you want to add that friend name into this list, and then we can do something like this. Now instead of changing, I am going to write the last index for this new friend, which we can get using friend list dot length. Now as you know, this length is 4. If I hit save, you can see now we have 5 items in our array. If I expand this, now at the position 4, we have our new friend which is Daniel. Now I hope you understand how we can change the items from our existing array and also how we can add new item in our array. Now one of the feature of JavaScript arrays is that they can hold values with different types. Unlike some other programming languages, JavaScript does not enforce a strict type system, which means that you can store any type of value in an array, such as numbers, strings, booleans, objects, functions, and more. For example, this is an array that holds values with different type. Here I am creating an array. Let mixed array is equal to, first I am using a number value, then a string like hello, and after this I am using a boolean value like true. And now we can also nest an array inside of an array. Like here I am creating another array inside of this, and here I am using John and I am entering a numerical value here. And we can also store functions, like if I create a function, simply it will do console.log hello like this. Now this is just to show you that we can store a numerical value, also a string value, even a boolean value. Basically we can store any value inside of our array. But we don't usually store functions in our array. We just store values like numerical values, string values, or we just store arrays or objects. However, having values with different types in an array can also make your code less readable and more prone to errors. Now, in this video, we learned about JavaScript arrays, which is one of the most useful and versatile data structure in JavaScript. We have learned how to create, access, and modify arrays in JavaScript. And we also learned that arrays can hold values with different types, but that can also make our code less readable and more prone to errors. Now, in our next video, we are going to learn about array methods. And that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new about JavaScript arrays. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.